Hey guys, Coach Logan here, looking to play another Blitz game, so let's see who takes up the challenge. Just waiting on an opponent. We'll maximize the screen once we find somebody. Alright, Borovica, rated 22-37, so he played d4. We'll go knight f6. Let's see if he'll play c4. Nope, knight f3. Alright, then we'll make this classical. We'll play d5. Okay, a London. So I'm playing c5 here. My general opinion is when white plays d4 and does not play the queen's gambit, the best thing is for black to basically play the queen's gambit from with reverse colors. Let's see what he does here. Okay, so in this line I think I like c4 here, giving his queen an option. Okay, so he's going to take, which will double my pawns, but it's hard for him to stop me from playing b4, and it also opens up the a file for my rook. So I think like we get b4 in here pretty much no matter what he does. Yeah, that doesn't stop us. I'll go bishop f5 though, just to activate this before closing, with e6. I still think we can play b4 on the next move. Okay, he'll take. Doesn't bother me. Alright, we will go e6 here. Just to hold my center in place. Okay. Let's see, h6 or h5. I think I'll go h6. Just feels a little bit less, I'll leave it at that. Alright, I'm gonna go b4. My pawns are pointing to the queen side, so that's where my plan is, to play on the queen side. Okay, so I'm tempted to take, and then play bishop a3, in which case I'll be threatening bishop to b2. Yeah, I kind of like that. Now I'm threatening bishop b2 and just winning the c3 pawn. I think this position's quite nice for me, I gotta say. I don't think this is a very good variation of the London he chose. There's better ones out there. Okay, we will take that. Now this opens up my other rook. It's funny, both my rooks opened on the rook files. Like they didn't have to move. My opponent opened them up for me. Take this. Okay, so we're up a pawn now. It's not the best extra pawn, but it's an extra pawn. Okay, he's attacking my rook. We will just, I'll just retreat it. He might go rook h1. Nope. Okay, so I think I'm going to go pawn grabbing here. Bishop to b2 hits the rook, then I take on c3. I don't see a problem with that. Maybe he activates his rook. Maybe he get... Nope. Okay, so... right there. Okay, that's somewhat clever. If I take his rook, he takes, and then he's threatening rook to... No, okay. This is just good for me. I just take on a2. I'm up 2 pawns here. I mean, they're doubled. Both of my extra pawns are doubled, so it's kind of like each one counts as like a half pawn extra, but that is like basically like being up a full pawn. Now he undoubled one of them, so I'm really just cleaning up his pawns here. Yeah, this is like a pretty typical London gone wrong when I've played against somebody. All right, so he resigned. No, I'm not going to do a rematch. I just want... Oh, no, I didn't want to do that. No. Okay, let's... boarding that one. Sorry, I didn't mean to start a game there. No, I actually wanted to analyze this last game. So let's go into my archives. Let's go... Let's analyze it. Okay. It's kind of a quick game, so we'll have a little bit of time to analyze. Just clearing out all these pop-ups here. Okay, so... Yeah, so basically, so this, I mean, I played knight f6. I was trying to play a different type of setup against d4, but I was waiting for him to play something like c4, in which case I could do a different setup. But he played d5, knight f3. which I figured I would just switch to basically a queen's gambit. Now, I was expecting him to play c4, which would be a queen's gambit, which is, in my view, the white's best chance for an advantage. Instead, he played a London, like a d4 sideline. My feeling for black is if white plays d4 but does not play a queen's gambit, then it's just best. Here, let's get a different color. Okay, yeah, like if white plays d4 but not c4, then I think black's best response is to play the queen's gambit reversed, basically. So just play c5. White played c3, which is defending his pawn. I went queen b6. That's one thing you can try to do against a lot of London lines, is when they develop this bishop to f4, they're leaving this pawn a little bit vulnerable, so you can try to target it. White played queen to b3. Now there's this interesting bit of tension with the queens. I don't advise taking their queen. I think something like this, all these serve to do is open their rook up for them and just bring more of their pawns towards the center. The doubled pawns are not really weak for white. You're not going to be able to target these easily, so that's not a good trade. Instead, after queen b3, I just played knight to c6, and he played e3 here. I played c4, which is sort of an anti-positional move. It's releasing your tension on the center. Like when this pawn was on c5, it put some pressure on white in the center, which makes it hard for him to really roll forward with his pawns. Once you play c4, this pawn is under a lot less pressure, so it makes e4 more likely at some point in the game. I think we even saw e4 from him at some point in the game. But the flip side of that is it's just a very direct move that forces white to do something not great here. Either they'll have to go back with their queen, which we can talk about maybe another time, but or they take your queen, which is what happened in the game. But the problem with that for them is now they've opened up your rook on the A file, and you have this mobile B pawn that's just going to roll up the board to B4. He played knight to D2. I went B5. He went knight e5 here, but just to show you, they can't stop b4. That's the big problem for them. Like if they play a3, which looks like the way to stop it, I think you can just continue with b4 anyway. And the point being that they can't take with the a pawn because of this pin along the a file. And if they play c takes b4, you just take with the knight. And I don't know, these positions are always, I think, better for black. I mean, truthfully, you don't even have to rush b4 here. The computer's pointing out you could play something like bishop f5, which is kind of what I did in the game. I mean, he played knight e5. I went bishop f5. As long as you're going to get b4 in, everything is solid for black in this. He played knight takes. That changes nothing, or nothing worse for me. It just strengthens my center. e6, I can get b4 in the next move, so I'm not in a rush. g4, not in a rush yet. I need to defend my bishop. Need to prevent my bishop from getting trapped. And now b4, yeah, okay. And this last thing I'll say, I mentioned in the game my pawns are pointing to my plan. This is what I mean. I have this long pawn chain going up, up the board on the queen side. That's telling me I should be looking to play there, which is what I did. I played b4, I took, and now the threat, as we saw in the game, is to play bishop b2, forking the rook and the pawn, and controlling this square so that they can't, so that the rook can't defend the pawn. He tried stuff here, but it just didn't work. And at this point, like white's lost. This is, yeah. So I don't know. There's better versions of the London. I think sometimes people can underestimate it as an opening, myself included. I lost a game in one of my recent tournaments to a very strong player. But I do believe black should be looking for some of the lines with c5. I think that's the principled way to meet d4 sidelines, is to try to play the queen's gambit in reversed.